Hello everyone, welcome to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network. Brought to you by the Northern Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited and the Northwoods Paranormal Resource Center here in Rylander, Wisconsin. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek.
Hello everyone.
And hello to everyone in the IRN chat room. We look forward to your questions, comments as always. IRNchat.com is the link for the chat room, so come join us there. And welcome to another edition of Paraversal Universe's Paranormal Blender, our end of the month news report covering 8 categories of the unknown and unexplained, including ghosts and haunted places, monsters and cryptids, aliens and UFOs, metaphysics, theology, conspiracies, forbidden archaeology, urban legends, and folklore. So if it's paranormal, supernatural, esoteric, fortean, or ultra-bizzare, and it's in the news this month, then there's a good chance that it's in our paranormal news report tonight. But first, we have some shout-outs. Shout-outs go to all those who share our banners in archives within the last week. Who do we have this week?
We have Josh Chairs, Howie Odell at the Rift, Charles Thomas, Michael Schumann, Zombie Plesiosaur Society, Cindy Lou at Bizarro World, Jason Bland and Jamie Demlos at Paranormal Soup, and Scott Mardis.
And of course everybody in the chat room as well, our regulars and the people that are joining us for the first time as well. Thank you for being here. Joining us tonight for all this news and analysis are 2 fellow members of the NWPS, ufologist and producer Mike M.J. Lucas and cryptozoologist and Shaman Donald Young. How you guys both doing tonight?
Doing great at the studio here, and how you guys doing?
Awesome.
Good, really good.
Good.
Friday night, the weekend's here.
Yay.
Oh yeah.
Don, are you with us?
Yes, I am. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Okay, so here is some of the headlines from this month of July 2017 we'll be covering tonight. I'm just going to read the headlines and then we'll go back through and read different news reports. Let's see, we have Chicago flying phantom leaps from the Sears Tower, or the Willis Tower. Medical journals busted for fake information. Wisconsin company to microchip employees. Volcano erupts in Singabung. H.H. Holmes skeleton found in concrete. Thousands of methane craters spewing gas from within 3 months on the sea floor. Teens kill themselves over blue whale challenge. A trillion-ton iceberg has finally broke off the Antarctic ice shelf, sorry. Mutilated sheep found in New Zealand golf course. The Chinese teleport particles object into the Earth's orbit for the first time. Funeral home shut down after maggots found in unrefrigerated bodies. Weed killer is turning Australia cane toads into monsters. 16-year-old marries a 71-year-old in Indonesia. That's a big wedding. And a bunch of other stories. So if we go through these and we got time left, we can cover some other stuff as well. But so I'll pass it to Jen. She can give us our first story.
All right. Our first article comes from Phantoms and Monsters. The article is dated Monday, July 24th, 2017. This is a witness report. Chicago Phantom leaps from Willis Tower. I received a telephone call from the witness, Guillermo, at 7:38 p.m., who states that he witnessed a flying human-like being at approximately 5:10 p.m. This was Central Standard Time. This was a time difference of an hour, 18 minutes between the sighting and the call. The witness states that he was attempting to calm down and then find someone to report the sighting. He found my telephone number online and then called. He still seemed somewhat distressed when we talked. The witness states that he was outside the Franklin Tap on 325th South Franklin Street while smoking a cigarette. He was alone at the time, though there were many people walking along the sidewalk. He appeared to look up towards the Willis Tower at 233 South Wacker Drive and noticed a human-like figure standing near the top of the building. In a perched position, the being looked like a 6-foot human with tall wings that extended a few feet above the body. And as he watched, the being leaped off of the building, stretched out the wings, dipped and swooped upwards. It gained altitude as it flapped its wings and headed off in a northern direction. The witness states that the being's outstretched wings were not very large, maybe 6 to 8 from tip to tip, but were very jagged and insect-like, shaped similar to a moth. The being was also dark green in color and had a body from like that of a mantis. The legs seemed to be human-like and extended beyond the body while flying. He called it a human insect and bird mix that seemed to mutate while in flight. The witness tells me that he had not heard of any of the previous sightings and that other people he talked to were unaware of the sightings as well. I asked this witness to stay in touch. I have his contact information. Note, once again, another variation in description. I have thought that there may have been at least 3 different beings reported. I am now convinced that theory is correct. This was the first sighting in July 2017 and the first since the June 30th sighting in Logan Square and the June 29th sighting in Auburn, Gresham. I received a message today from a friend on Facebook who stated, I've been doing a lot of thinking that the Sears Towers is in peril in Chicago. A vision, if you will. The Sears Tower was renamed Willis Tower on July 16th, 2009.
So, and that was Lon Stricker reporting, by the way. We had him on the show a couple weeks ago. So if you want to hear more on the Chicago Flying Phantom sightings, you can check that out. But 20 some, or about, I think it's 20 reports this year of this Flying Phantom. And the Lon thinks there are 3 of them. Whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 or however many, it's a lot of sightings, especially for a metropolis area. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Don.
Well, basically, I don't know the story, but I do know about the Mothman. But other than the description of the wings, my first thought was maybe there's some of these adventurous people out there trying out their own, what do they call them, bodysuit wings. Adventure people that climb to the top of these buildings. Either they parachute down, or they use the flying wing, they call it. It's like a suit. But it doesn't fit that description. From what the witness was saying, it had 6-foot wings. The wingsuit is basically almost like the wings of like a flying squirrel's skin. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, it would
Definitely.
be. It would be. I wonder. I mean, if it's happening this year, is there anything else you can tie into these sightings? I mean, we could look at some databases of. I don't know. Has there been an increase in Sasquatch sightings in Illinois, even, Kevin, that you know of, or Don? Anything like that, or is there increased activity of every type, or is it just a single out thing? It would be cool to see if we could tie in any other loose ends that might be phenomena working together. Who knows?
There was. Go ahead, Don.
I was gonna say, as far as my area goes, the activity with the Sasquatch is relatively the same. There's no increase, no decrease.
You know, part of me wonders when I hear about stuff like that if there's going to be some kind of an event that's going to happen in Chicago. I mean, you know, we can use the Mothman with the Silver Bridge collapse as a perfect example. I think it'll be interesting to see if anything happens as these sightings are being reported.
I know that I had heard through the grapevine, and of course this isn't confirmed, so I'm not going to put any names or anything, but that there were a couple sightings in Milwaukee of a flying creature. In them cases, I guess they reported green eyes, which is different than the red eyes being reported in Chicago, but they're still flying creatures. But like I said, that's speculation. I don't know that's confirmed. But the people who were discussing it are credible, so it's plausible. And the next story comes to us. Let's see here. Where are we at? ScienceAlert.com, and this is July 24th. This is when I read this, it was pretty funny. So let's see. I want to say, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Here we are. Whoever needed a timely reminder that our world is an academic publishing, that in the world of academic publishing, not all scientific journals are created equal. Now we have it. To test just how low the quality bar for exploitative predatory journals, a prominent neuroscientist has tricked 4 publications into accepting a totally fake paper about midi-chloridians, the entirely fictional life forms in Star Wars that make the Force possible. Neuroskeptic, a working neuroscientist who anomalously blogs about science for Discover, set up the sting, submitting the nonsensical study to 9 specific scientific journals, only to have 4 of them accepted. The journals approached are among those sometimes described as predatory in science circles because they exploit researchers into paying fees to have their papers published in them. But in this case, 3 of the publications just went ahead and published the fake paper straight up, clearly not even reading or checking it first, even without requiring a payment or fee. Another, the American Journal for Medical and Biological Research, also accepted the paper, but demanded a $360 fee before publishing it. The absurd thing, as Neuroskeptic explains, is the average human being would only need about 5 minutes or less with the paper to see that it's entirely bogus and riddled with inexplicable Star Wars references. For a start, it's written by none other than the decidedly fishy-looking Dr. Lucas McGeorge and Dr. Anakin Kin. And while at a very quick scan it might pass for a chemistry discussion, that's only because Neuroskeptic...
Okay, Kevin, for the grand prize of $1 million, what color is the White House?
I know this.
5 seconds.
Oh, switching to Geico could save you a bunch of money on car insurance?
Okay. Judges? That's true, Kevin. They'll allow it. Congratulations. You're a winner.
Woo!
Geico, because saving 15% or more on car insurance is always a great answer.
Clicked on the content of the Wikipedia page on mitochondrium. I can't say that properly. In other words, real, and rewarded it, changing that to midi-chloridian. Not so real. So the words are very close and similar, but not identical. To further make things obvious, just in case any peer reviewers working for the publication will actually pay attention, Neuroskeptic dropped an entire passage ripped off the wholesale from Star Wars, inserting them not so subtly to the text. And let's see. Midichlorians, it says midichlorians. Oh, yeah, it starts off with, it's giving an example of what was in the thing. It says midichlorians, mediated oxidative stress caused cardiopathy in type 2 diabetics. There's more fatty acids delivered into the heart and into the cardiomyocytes. The oxidation of fatty acids in these cells increases, the paper reads, sounding kind of legit and sciencey. But then suddenly, did you ever hear of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the Jedi would tell you. It was a Sith legend. Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise he could use the Force to influence microcandia light to create light. If that wasn't enough to twig the peer reviewers, an admission in the study that the majority of the text from current paper was in fact stolen from Wikipedia surely should have let them know something was up. But again, nothing. At least not part of the journal that was accepted as paper. Some of the other journals who didn't accept the paper did pick up on the Star Wars references, but puzzlingly, Neuroskeptic was asked to simply revise the text and resubmit it, including suggestions to revert the spelling of microchlorians back to the mitochondria. I have trouble saying both of them words, so I apologize for that. But anyways, to wrap this up, as funny as it is to see this dysfunctional peer review process laid bare by such overt fakery, it also highlights a serious breach that hurts science, because the existence of this kind of publishing scam exploits real researchers who are trying to get their work noticed, and brings the whole notion of peer review into disrepute. It's just a reminder that some peer-reviewed journals, there is really no meaningful peer review at all. This matters because scientific publications are companies selling a product, and that product is a peer review. To wrap this up, the findings, such as they are reported. In other words, the journals that published the fake paper are International Journal of Molecular Biology, open access, Austin Journal of Pharmacology and Therapeutics, and the American Research Journal for Biosciences. So, what do you guys think about that?
I think somebody's been watching too much Star Wars.
May the Force be with you.
Right. But it really does, American Research Journal of Biosciences and the Austin Journal of Pharmacology and Therapeutics. Now, these sound like prestigious, journals that you would assume would not only be reviewed, but by many people. And, approved by, whoever or whatever before it would get published.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that...
It undermines actual real scientists and anyone doing any credible research. This would undermine them completely, because once this is found out to be fraudulent, anyone that has any kind of theories surrounding any kind of stuff like that would be thrown out.
All right. So our next article comes from the Cult of the Weird, and it was published by Charlie Hiltz on July 18th, 2017. H.H. Holmes skeleton found in concrete with brain intact. What was found inside the grave of H.H. Holmes? Researcher Jeff Mudgett reveals the details of the exhumation. Back in May, news broke that the body of H.H. Holmes would be exhumed for a DNA test. Jeff Mudgett, the great-grandson of America's first serial killer, is hoping to determine whether the rumors that Holmes escaped the gallows in 1896 are true or not. He believes Holmes may have been Jack the Ripper, which is the basis of the History Channel series American Ripper, and is hoping to find supporting evidence. So what exactly did they find when they dug Holmes out of his unmarked grave in Philadelphia's Holy Cross Cemetery? The dig, led by archaeologists from the University of Pennsylvania, first uncovered an empty pine box, Mudgett told NBC. Then a few feet deeper, they hit concrete. Holmes feared that grave robbers would steal his body after burial, so he requested to be entombed in cement. The team cracked open the concrete sarcophagus and found a man's skeleton inside. Chills went up and down my spine, Mudgett said, to see the skeleton and the skull with the brain still inside, which is a phenomena that scientists still have not explained. Scared the heck out of me. Anthropologists are still testing remains at UPenn. If there is any substantial clues to be gleaned from the bones, it will likely be featured in a future episode of American Ripper.
That comes from the Cult of Weird.
Isn't that nuts? What do you guys think about that?
Well, I'd say, it's not out of the unusual for the brain to be preserved, especially if it was encased in cement where no parasites or anything or bugs can get to it. Like in a coffin, you can have the worms and everything clean. It's pretty much encased in cement. That's pretty much like a mummification. So,
right.
It's weird that the guy foreseen that and it just decided, I don't want my body taken.
We could say it was well thought out if you want to, make a little humor with it.
I like that. That's good. Well thought out.
That's a good one.
You can sit there and do puns on this all day long.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's got the H.H. Holmes has really got a following. A lot of people follow that story, that they're into that. Some people just are into that stuff.
Well, look at the history. They're trying to figure out if he's in fact Jack the Ripper, and that wouldn't that be something if the DNA test confirms that he was actually Jack the Ripper?
I don't know how would they be able to do that? Well, they can confirm at least who he is.
They can at least confirm who he is.
Yes.
Well, if he's got any relatives that are still alive, the Ripper, then from there, the DNA would just have to be matched to any relative, whether it's a great grandson or whatever, granddaughter.
The next story comes to us from MSM, news source USA Today. And this one is, I guess this would fall into the conspiracy category. Wisconsin company to install rice-shaped microchips into place. A Wisconsin tech company is offering its employees microchip implants that can be used to scan into the building and purchase food at work. By Mary Bowman, USA Today. July 24th, 2017. Reports. Welcome to the future. A Wisconsin technology company is offering its employees microchip implants that can be used to scan inside buildings and purchase for food at work. Whether or not to get the chip is up to the employee to decide. 3 Market Square, a company that provides technology for the break room or micro markets, has over 50 employees who plan to have the devices implanted. The tiny chip, which uses a RFID technology or radio frequency identification, can be implanted in between or between the thumb and forefinger within seconds, according to a statement from the company. The company, which is based in River Falls, Wisconsin, envisions the rice-sized microchip allowing employees to easily pay for items, access the building and their computers, all with the scan of their hand. we foresee the use of the RFID technology to drive everything from making purchases in our office break room market, opening doors, use of copy machines, logging into our office computers, unlocking phones, sharing business cards, storing medical information, and used as payment at other RFID terminals, CEO Todd Westby said in the company statement. Eventually, the technology will become standardized, allowing you to use this as your passport, public transit, and all purchasing opportunities, etc. And while the microchipping employees may sound like something out of a horror film, the company is partnering with Swedish company Biohacks International, which is already has many chipped employees. At this time, employees are not required to get the microchips, and Westby told the station there is no GPS tracking.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
They can chip themselves and keep that stuff away from me.
Well,
I'm
I tell you,
glad I don't work for Total Recall.
right. You know, we were talking about this earlier this week, just about the microchipping, and you know how the talk and the theory is just in general, like microchipping the population is that something equivalent to like the mark of the beast, for example? You know, where to purchase anything, to do anything at all, you would need this approval from the government. Otherwise, you could not. And I know it scares a lot of people, and you know, and it rightfully should, I think. One guy,
Kind of in the words like what Jay Leno would say. How lazy are people getting when they can't reach into their pocket and pull out a card to swipe it? They got to just have it implanted into their hand.
you're right. I mean, that is like use a copy machine, really? Like they need to regulate the office to that extent. You know, what are they worried that like high schoolers are sneaking in and using the copy machine and sitting on it and taking pictures?
Oh.
Okay. But no, but for real though, I mean, you know, but they were saying one guy had pointed out something really interesting, and he said, you know, with nanotechnology today, everybody in a sense has got nano inside of them because of the theory of the chemtrails and whatnot. And if that's the case, of course, this nanotechnology, they say that they can actually get information from that. They can track people and whatnot. So, ultimately, I think that is that the mark of the beast. Well, I think that if anybody does it willingly, and if they're willing for that, well, that's it. You know, that is between them and their maker. If someone is not willing, in other words, they don't support it, but let's say they happen to be, they have the nano in them, or they're forced to get a microchip or whatever, then I would think that that would be, because they say like if you take the mark of the beast, you won't be in the book of life and all that. And I don't want to get into all the religion and stuff, but it's just interesting, and it's real.
The person has to look at it at the other way too. Because this is a relatively new technology. They've just recently government spying on you.
All right, everybody. It is time for our first commercial break.
Daddy, where do
listening to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network.
Welcome back to Paraversal Universe on the Inception Radio Network. We're your hosts, Kevin and Jennifer Malek. And we are also with Mike M.J. Lucas and Donald Young. And we are going through the news tonight on our Paranormal Blender end of the month news report. But before we jump back into that, I'd like to take a minute and thank everyone who makes Paraversal Universe possible, including graphic arts designer Lawrence E. Miza, announcer and producer Michael M.J. Lucas, music by Matt Stenz, webmaster Joe Champion, and of course to God for granting us this wonderful show and opportunity here to be with you all. This segment is brought to you by Lucas Wellness and the UFO Wisconsin research team. Also, we have 3 Paraversal Universe-like pages on Facebook. Also, Jennifer Malek, Psychic Demonologist, Jennifer's like page. And of course, another Wisconsin Paranormal Society Limited. We have 2 group pages worth noting. Lake Monstrosities, which is the largest group on Facebook for aquatic mysteries and lake monsters, and Ultimate Conspiracies, which is pretty much self-explanatory. Also check out Kindred Forest. That's Don's group. It's an awesome group. Cryptozoology and anything unknown and unexplained, really. But it's awesome. So check that out as well. That can be found on Facebook. Let's see. Any comments or whatnot, go to ironchat.com, where you can post comments and even questions. Although tonight with the news, we're really not taking questions. But anyways, Jen and Mike's manning the chat on that. So I think that covers that. We are back to the news. So what's up next?
Okay, this one is just, I have no words for this one. And if anybody's got, if anybody just ate before we started our show, I really apologize. But we came across this and we talked about this and we need to put this out there because people need to know about this. This comes from Channel 5, WNEM.com. It is dated July 13th, 2017. Funeral home shut down after deplorable conditions were found. Flint, Michigan. A Michigan funeral home has been shut down after investigators found deplorable conditions, including maggots and 15 unrefrigerated bodies. Now, the TV5 has learned that the funeral home has had 8 complaints reporting to START regulators from 2012 to 2016. Those complaints generated 8 inspections. The Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs announced Wednesday they have suspended the mortuary science license of Swanson Funeral Home in Flint, including the individual license of its manager, O'Neill D. Swanson II. A former complaint, an order of summary suspension, and an order to cease and desist were issued by Laura. Michigan residents trust funeral home directors, owners, and their establishments to follow the law, especially when dealing with the death of a loved one, said CSCL Director Julia Dale. We will continue to aggressively hold every funeral home in Michigan to the highest standards of public health and safety when providing final arrangements. Investigators said state inspectors found deplorable unsanitary conditions and several violations inside the funeral home. Those violations included maggots on the floor of the facility's garage and garage door. Unrefrigerated human bodies were stored in the unair-conditioned garage, some for more than 90 days and up to 5 months.
Ooh.
The building smelled of decomposing bodies. Unsanitary preparation room without equipment or supplies necessary for embalming. Blood and fluid-stained casket pillows were laying in the hallway. A failure to register as a producing facility and submit a medical waste management plan under the Medical Waste Regulatory Act. Repeated violations of standards and law enforced by the Michigan Occupational Safety and Health Administration affecting the handling, custody, care, and or transportation of a dead human body. A failure to register to sell prepaid contracts or maintain a contract with a restraint under Prepaid Act. The funeral home could be subjected to fines up to $10,000 for each violation, according to Laura. Miosha inspected the facility 6 times from 2012 to 2016, and there were 2 more inspections from other agencies. Swanson Funeral Home has had other disturbing allegations leveled against it. In May of 2017, Maurice Dunn claimed he and his family arrived at the Flint Funeral Home to pay respects and found a stranger in the casket. TV5 reacted to Swanson Funeral Home about the claims and never heard back. Read more about the website. You can read more about the claim. It's unscrupulous business behavior, of course, and it's just awful, Dunn said. Dunn said the funeral home put a different person in his mother's casket. They dressed another lady in our mother's coffin and my mother's clothes with our mother's wedding ring and her mother's wig, Dunn said.
Oh.
The funeral home was also reportedly under investigation in November of 2016 after 4 complaints were filed for gross negligence, incompetence, violation of a rule of conduct, and an ability to serve the public. Some residents are concerned because they have loved ones inside waiting to be laid to rest, and they can't get in touch with the funeral home either.
Oh.
Members of the public who are in the process or have used services of Swanson Funeral Home and have questions or concerns regarding the operation and home should contact the CSL at 517-241-700. Schwartz Funeral Home has stepped in to help 12 families planning funerals at Swanson Funeral Home. Dunn's brother, Joe Leverett, said he wants justice for everyone affected. I hope everything gets straightened out, to try to comfort some of the people they've hurt and their families, Leverett said. The brothers have filed a lawsuit against the funeral home and want compensation. Dunn said he is glad no one else has to go through what he did. Better late than never, Dunn said.
Who wants to go first? I'm sure we all have something to say about this.
I'm shocked. I mean, that's horrible. That's disgusting. And people that do that to the bodies of deceased loved ones have no business being in this type of business to begin with. It makes me sick. It made me sick when I read it.
I got to say, first of all, and there's other comments too on chat, and I agree. That should have been shut down way before. I mean, how many inspections were there? How many complaints were there? How long has this been going on? It makes you realize what these places can actually get away with.
Right.
I would think like one unrefrigerated body for a couple weeks would be all it would take, or even just for a few days. I mean, or just something, But to hear all this, and the fines $10,000 per charge, and how many charges were there? So like anybody suing them, it's going to be a long time before they collect on that, I think. But,
right. Well, then you have to look at, what's wrong with the funeral home? Aside from all that, when you go in there expecting to see your loved one in the casket, and it's another body with your loved one's clothes on them. Come on.
And you're going, what's that smell?
And it's like what they did 5 to 6 years ago at a Jewish cemetery in Davie, Florida. They got shut down because they were taking urns full of people's cremated ashes and dumping them in the garbage dumpster out back, and telling people that they didn't know what happened to the ashes of their deceased loved ones. I mean, that's just, yeah, it's gross, and I'm sorry if it made anybody ill, but you need to put that out there.
That's, yeah, ultra-bizzare, and in that case, just wrong.
Just wrong.
Just wrong. So the next story comes from Mysterious Universe. Paul Seaburn reports on July 7th, 2017. And this has to do with, well, the name of the article is Weed Killer is Turning Australia's Cane Toads into Monsters. Tale of the introduction of cane toads in Australia and the destruction that followed is well known, but perhaps not well known enough. Released in 1935 as a way to control cane beetles, the venomous amphibians, Rhinella marina, ignored the insects, gorged on native species and non-native pet food, and killed or seconded anything that tried to eat them or even lick, including humans. It's been over 60 years, more than enough time for humans to have learned their lesson, right? Well, wrong. A new study found that cane toads are mutating into bigger and more dangerous monsters due to another foreign invader, a certain chemical weed killer. It should come as no surprise that the weed killer in question is glyphosate, a main ingredient in many herbicides, including the popular Roundup, and made by the controversial chemical giant Monsanto. According to the study published in this week's Proceedings of the Royal Society B, researchers from the Hungarian Academy of Sciences exposed various species of tadpoles to glyphosate as part of an ongoing worldwide test on amphibians, whose environmentally I just lost my spot here. Whose environmentally included deformities and illness, make them hopping canaries in the coal mine on both land and water. The researchers found that the tadpole swimming in glyphosate-tainted water had high doses of ufenidyls, a natural chemical found in some plants and animals that evolution provided them with to ward off predators by making them taste bad. Are you getting a bad taste in your mouth too? Our results indicate that pesticide pollution might exacerbate the problem for invasive toxic species. For example, in Australia, the survival of native tadpoles is reduced by poisoning from ingestion of toxic cane toad eggs, and predators suffer drastic mortality due to ingesting or molting cane toads. Wow. Another study, Verkanika Bakane, points out that obvious problem, and that's this butadiene makes the cane toad tadpoles taste bad, thus ensuring that more will survive to poisonous cane toad adulthood. Then it gets worse. High concentrations of the word I can't say are also poisonous, giving cane toads a double whammy of toxins to scare anything away from eating them, including crocodiles, whose large size can generally handle normal cane toad toxins, but not bigger toads with two poisons. Of course, glyphosate herbicides are widely used in Australian agriculture, and getting anything done about it requires government action versus big business money. The European Union will decide in December whether to renew the license for glyphosate. Meanwhile, Australia's invasive killer cane toads increases in size, numbers, and toxicity. Will humans, given a second chance, do the right thing this time? Do they ever? So, yeah, that's so they bring in a toad to kill the beetles, but the toad doesn't eat the beetles, and then the toads get affected by the Roundup and become super poisonous for any other animals that eat them. So now, not only, well, first of all, I don't know what happened with the beetle problem, but that wasn't solved by the frogs. And now, and of course, for years now, I know in Minnesota and parts of Wisconsin, they found mutated frogs with like 3 legs, 4 eyes, all kinds of just weird stuff, just mutations, and of course, they say amphibians and like amphibians are more susceptible, obviously, than other species. How long it will be before other species start showing signs of mutation? Well, frogs is also, amphibious. So it doesn't surprise me at all. But wow,
frogs really are the starting point. They're the ones that tell you immediately. And I believe also that Roundup, I'm not absolutely positive, but I heard that Roundup, before it was Roundup, was the same company that developed Agent Orange.
In fact, I've heard, that's, and again, Monsanto doesn't have the best reputation, that's for sure. Any thoughts, Mike?
What another problem with this too, it's probably found in most of our foods in the US, non-organic, so where there's this pesticide thing it needs to go. It's going to kill the honeybees. Then we ain't going to have food in about 25 years. We'll be screwed. That's my thoughts.
Get rid of pollinators and we don't have nothing.
Right. You're exactly correct, Don.
So the next story comes from us from EWA. July 12th, 2017. And I'm sure a lot of people have heard this, but this is very interesting. The Chinese scientists just teleported an object into Earth's orbit for the first time. Yes. The idea of teleportation has long been considered only possible in science fiction movies. In fact, in the early 1990s, scientists speculated that teleportation could be possible with the aid of quantum physics. Since the idea was proposed, experts made great progress in 2016 and managed to successfully conduct the world's first quantum teleportation outside of a laboratory. But experts didn't want to stop there, so they stepped it up a notch. Now, experts in China managed to achieve the unachievable, quote-unquote, after they successfully teleported a photon from our planet to a satellite orbiting Earth more than 500 kilometers away. Pretty awesome, right? This revolutionary experiment was conducted between the Messias, a Chinese quantum satellite named after a Chinese philosopher from the 5th century BC, and a ground station in Asia where scientists managed to transfer the photon from Earth to space. The Chinese satellite was launched into orbit in 2016. Messias is equipped with state-of-the-art technology featuring super-sensitive photon receiver, which enables the satellite to detect quantum state of a single photon which is fired at it from Earth. But not only did the Chinese scientists teleport the first object ever from our planet into space that we know of, they basically, that was my interjection by the way, but they basically created a revolutionary satellite-to-ground quantum network, which eventually allowed them to beat the record for the longest distance from which entanglement has been measured. And why is entanglement so important here? Because quantum teleportation relies on quantum entanglement, a phenomenon where one set of objects, like a photon, appears at the same instant at the same point in space, sharing the same existence. Furthermore, noted by futurism, this shared existence continues even when the photons are separated, meaning a measurement of one immediately influences the state of the other, regardless of the distance between them. So scientists explain that this extraordinary link is what allows us to transmit quantum information, and essentially by uploading and downloading the information assigned to one object, or photon in this case, over an entangled link to another photon object. The second photon object takes the identity of the first, in other words, teleportation. The long-distance teleportation has been made recognized as a fundamental element in protocols, such as large-scale quantum networks and distributed quantum computations, report Chinese scientists to MIT Technology Review. So, let's see here. Yeah, so that's pretty interesting stuff. What do you guys think about that? You think it's been done before? That's my first question.
Well, there are portals out there. I'm almost wondering if that goes on to the same principle.
Yeah, that makes, I can see that there being a tie.
Or with them opening this another new technology up, are they going to dive into something where some outer space alien species will all of a sudden intercept that, and we're going to be teleporting them right to us?
Yeah.
I don't know how that all works, with what all you've described. Well, the only thing that kept flashing into my head was Star Trek. Beam me up, Scotty.
I don't know. I would think that if something like that were going on, why would they want to tell us anything about it?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much out there that they know about that we don't know about, that they keep from us. So when I read stuff like this, I'm on the fence about it, because how much of it is true and how much of it is disinformation.
Well, in this case, it's like you said, I'm sure they've done this before secretly. Black ops and secret science, whether it's government owned or possibly even corporate owned. I mean, some corporations have more money than some countries. So, who's to say what's going on? But, yeah, that's...
there could be benefit to it someday.
Yeah,
as far as teleporting a transport ship or something to a distant planet somewhere where they can explore for minerals or whatever else. But as far as like what they're doing right now, it's just on the just a starting gate.
Yeah. So we just got a couple minutes left here. I'm just going to read a couple of the other headlines that we didn't get to. China built 250-acre solar farm shaped like a giant panda. We didn't get to that. We didn't get to supervolcano. Concerns arise after Montana hit by strongest earthquake in 20 years. Thai police called in to take on villager's female ghost. Scientists learn ingredients of a 2,000-year-old Roman pill bottle found in an ancient shipwreck.
Wow.
And it turned out to be eye medicine, they said.
Huh.
Weird, right? I never guessed. I would have thought it had been aspirin or something.
Who knew?
And then, of course, in the news, a man took a photograph of what he thought was a Tasmanian tiger, but many are saying it was an injured fox. Let's see. And a meteor shower explodes over South Australia, lit up the sky. Bonehead sharks may not be carnivorous after all, new discoveries suggest. So those are some of the stories we didn't get to. There's so much news, especially when it comes to all the categories that we covered. But for what we came across this month, that was some of the relevant, bizarre, and unknown and unexplained, or just really freaky stuff that we came across. So thank you, Mike, and thank you, Don, both for coming on and doing analysis with us.
It was interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you both. We really appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
So let's see. Next week, stay tuned. We have another awesome show lined up. Next month, is primarily ufology. I think like 3 or the 4 of the shows are going to be with ufologists. I know Derek Tyler's coming on. Paul Sinclair's coming on. Deborah Jane East is going to be on. So yeah, we got some good guests coming up. So yeah, every Friday night, and then of course at the end of the month we do our newscast. So to the believer, the evidence is overwhelming.
And to the skeptic, there will never be enough.
Thank you. God bless you. Everyone have a good weekend, and we'll see you next week.
Good night, everyone.